No one at Malibu Beach expected a quiet morning to turn into the scene of a desperate rescue. But when Keanu Reeves spotted a grotesque, barnacle-covered figure barely clinging to life near the shoreline, he didn't hesitate. What others saw as a hopeless case, a creature too far gone to save, sparked an unshakable determination in him. Little did anyone know, this moment would mark the beginning of a story that would leave the world in awe. The salty breeze carried a faint, haunting sound, so soft that Keanu almost dismissed it as the cry of a distant seagull or the rustle of the waves. But there it was again, sharp and desperate. It stopped him in his tracks. A rare pause in his morning jog along the quiet Malibu coastline. Keanu squinted into the misty horizon. First, it was just a dark lump near the water's edge, partially buried in the sand and foam. Driftwood, he thought, or maybe seaweed tangled around some debris. But as the tide receded, the shape shifted ever so slightly, struggling against the weight of the sea. His pulse quickened. It wasn't debris. It was alive. Adrenaline coursed through him as he sprinted toward the figure, the wet sand pulling at his feet. What he found took his breath away. It was a dolphin, if you could still call it that. The sleek, majestic body was grotesquely marred by hundreds, maybe thousands, of barnacles clinging like parasites to its skin. The dolphin's once smooth surface was rough and jagged, its gray flesh mottled with blood and raw patches where the barnacles had torn into its body. Its eyes, sunken and tired, met Keanu's with a silent, pleading cry, barely moved, its weakened body rising and falling in shallow, uneven breaths. This creature wasn't just fighting for survival. It was on the edge of surrender. Keanu dropped to his knees, his heart pounding in his chest. "Hey, buddy," he said softly, his voice cracking as he reached out a cautious hand. The barnacles scraped against his skin as he gently touched the dolphin's side. It flinched but didn't pull away. Instead, it let out a faint, whimpering sound, a noise that cut straight to Keanu's soul. Around him, a few early risers on the beach began to notice. Some pulled out their phones, recording the scene from a distance. Others whispered among themselves, their voices low but audible. "That poor thing," one woman murmured. "It's probably better to just let it go." Keanu looked up sharply, his expression hard as stone. "No," he said, his voice steady and firm. "Not today." Ignoring the murmurs, Keanu shrugged off his jacket and carefully draped it over the dolphin's battered body, shielding it from the wind and sun. His hands trembled slightly as he whispered, "I'm not leaving you here. We'll figure this out, okay?" As he knelt there, waves lapping against his legs and the dolphin's labored breaths filling the air, Keanu felt the weight of the moment settle over him. This wasn't just an injured animal. This was a survivor, an unyielding spirit that had fought against impossible odds to make it this far. And Keanu knew, deep in his heart, that he wasn't going to let it fight alone. The crowd around Keanu thickened, their murmurs growing louder as they watched the surreal scene unfold. Some whispered in awe, while others questioned what could be done. But Keanu didn't pay attention. His focus remained on the dolphin, whose fragile breaths seemed to weaken with each passing second. A young boy tugged at his mother's sleeve, pointing toward Keanu. "Mom, that's the guy from the movies," he said excitedly. His mother nodded absent-mindedly, her face a mix of concern and pity as she glanced at the barnacle-covered dolphin. Keanu didn't care about the recognition. All that mattered was the creature struggling for life before him. He pressed a hand gently against its side, feeling the faint, erratic rise and fall of its body. The sharp edges of the barnacles dug into his skin, drawing thin lines of blood. But he barely noticed. "Hang in there, buddy," he whispered. His voice was steady, but the knot in his throat betrayed the growing fear that time was slipping away. He glanced over his shoulder at the onlookers. "Does anyone have a phone? Call for help, marine rescue, a vet, anyone who can help." A middle-aged man stepped forward, his phone already in hand. "I'll make the call," he said, his tone cautious. But they're going to ask if it's even worth it. I mean, look at it. Keanu turned, his gaze piercing. It's worth it, he said firmly. Every life is worth it. The man hesitated, then nodded, retreating a few steps to make the call. Keanu turned his attention back to the dolphin. He couldn't ignore the small crowd forming around him, their curiosity tinged with doubt. "What are you even going to do?" a woman asked, her arms crossed. "It's not like you can carry it back to the ocean." Keanu ignored her, his hand still resting lightly on the dolphin's side. "We're going to get you out of this," he murmured, more to himself than anyone else. Minutes felt like hours before the faint sound of sirens pierced the air. A truck from a local marine rescue team pulled onto the sand, followed by a small group of rescuers in wetsuits carrying medical kits and stretchers. Relief washed over Keanu, but it was fleeting. The dolphin's breathing was growing weaker, its body trembling beneath his touch. The lead rescuer knelt beside him, her brows furrowed as she surveyed the dolphin's condition. "Oh, wow," she muttered, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've seen barnacles before, but this is extreme. What can we do?" Keanu asked, his voice steady but urgent. The rescuer hesitated. "We'll need to get it to our facility immediately, but I won't lie, its condition is critical. These barnacles, they've burrowed deep. They're causing infections, restricting its movement. It's going to be a tough fight." Keanu nodded. "Then let's fight." The team worked swiftly, preparing a stretcher to carefully lift the dolphin. Keanu stayed by its side, helping where he could. His hands were raw and bleeding from handling the sharp barnacles, but he didn't flinch. When they finally hoisted the dolphin onto the stretcher, it let out a weak, mournful whistle. Keanu leaned down, his voice soft and steady. "You're going to be okay. Just hold on." As the rescue team loaded the stretcher into their truck, Keanu climbed in beside it. One of the rescuers looked at him, surprised. "You don't have to come with us," she said. "We've got this." Keanu shook his head. "I'm not leaving it." The truck roared to life, speeding toward the marine rescue facility. Inside, the air was thick with tension. Keanu sat beside the dolphin, his hand resting on the small patch of exposed skin that wasn't covered by barnacles. His breathing was shallow, but it was still holding on. "You're stronger than this," he whispered. "Just keep fighting." As the coastline blurred past the windows, Keanu couldn't help but reflect on how fragile life could be. He'd faced his own share of challenges, losses and battles that had left their mark. But this was different. This wasn't about him. This was about a creature that had endured so much, and yet, somewhere deep inside, still had the will to survive. And he wasn't about to let that will go unanswered. The rescue truck screeched to a halt in front of the Marine Rehabilitation Center. A team of specialists rushed out, their faces a mixture of concern and determination. Keanu climbed out of the truck, his hands still stained with sand and blood, and followed the stretcher as the team wheeled the dolphin inside. The facility was a flurry of movement. The lead veterinarian, a woman with a calm but authoritative presence, approached Keanu. "We'll do everything we can," she assured him, her eyes briefly scanning his raw hands. "But I have to be honest, this is going to be a challenge." Keanu nodded. "I trust you. Just tell me how I can help." The team worked quickly, setting up a makeshift pool for the dolphin. The water was carefully warmed to match the ocean's temperature, providing some comfort to the weakened creature. Keanu stood at the edge, watching as they began their examination. "This level of barnacle infestation is rare," the veterinarian said, running gloved hands over the dolphin's roughened skin. "It's not just surface level. These barnacles have burrowed deep into the tissue, causing severe infections. We'll need to remove them carefully, but it's going to be painful." As they worked, Keanu crouched beside the pool, his eyes never leaving the dolphin. It let out faint whistles of distress, his body twitching weakly. "Hang in there," he murmured, his voice steady despite the lump in his throat. "You're safe now. Hours passed as the team painstakingly removed the barnacles. One by one, each cluster revealed patches of raw, bleeding skin, a testament to the dolphin's suffering. Keanu stayed by its side the entire time, his presence a quiet reassurance. Finally, one of the team members straightened up, her face showing a flicker of hope. "We've removed the worst of it. The infections are still a concern. But now that the barnacles are gone, its body has a chance to heal." Keanu let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "What's next?" he asked. "Antibiotics, fluids, and lots of monitoring." The veterinarian replied, "It's still touch and go, but if it survives the next 24 hours, its chances improve dramatically." That night, Keanu refused to leave. He sat by the pool, his hand resting lightly on the dolphin's side as it floated in the water. His breathing was still shallow, but steadier than before. The faint rhythm gave him hope. As the hours dragged on, Keanu found himself talking to the dolphin. "You've been through so much," he said softly. "But you're a fighter. I can see it in you. We just have to keep going a little longer." The room was quiet, save for the hum of machines and the gentle lapping of water. Keanu's words were a lifeline in the silence, a reminder that the dolphin wasn't alone. By morning, the dolphin's condition had stabilized. His breathing was deeper, its movements more deliberate. When it lifted its head slightly, letting out a faint whistle, Keanu felt a surge of relief. "That's it," he said with a small smile. "You're getting there." The staff gathered around, their faces lighting up with cautious optimism. "It's responding well," the veterinarian said, her tone warm. "It's not out of the woods yet, but this is a good sign." Keanu nodded, his gaze fixed on the dolphin. "It's going to make it," he said, more to himself than anyone else. Later that day, Keanu took to social media to share the story. He posted a photo of the dolphin, now free of barnacles but scarred from its ordeal, along with a heartfelt message. "This dolphin has survived the impossible. It's been through pain most of us can't imagine, but it's still fighting. Let's show it the same courage and determination. Together, we can make a difference not just for this dolphin, but for all the creatures struggling because of us." The post quickly went viral, with millions of people around the world sharing the story and donating to marine conservation efforts. Messages of support poured in, turning the dolphin into a symbol of resilience and hope. The days that followed were a delicate balance of progress and setbacks. The dolphin, now affectionately named Beacon by Keanu and the rescue team, showed small but significant signs of improvement. Each milestone, steadier breathing, stronger movements, a faint flick of its tail was celebrated as a victory. Keanu became a constant presence at the facility, often spending long hours by the pool where Beacon floated in the gently circulating water. The scars left by the barnacles were a stark reminder of the dolphin's ordeal, but its resilience shone brighter with each passing day. One afternoon, during a hydrotherapy session designed to help Beacon regain strength, the team noticed a change. As Beacon moved through the water, the strokes became smoother, more confident. It wasn't just surviving, it was beginning to thrive. Keanu stood at the edge of the pool, watching intently, when Beacon lifted its head and let out a series of soft, melodic whistles. The room fell silent. It was the first time the dolphin had vocalized since its rescue, and the sound was like music to their ears. "That's a good sign," the veterinarian said, smiling. "It means Beacon's feeling stronger, and maybe even a little hopeful." Keanu crouched down, his hand resting lightly on the edge of the pool. "You're incredible. You know that?" he said softly, his voice filled with genuine awe. Beacon's dark eyes met his, and for a moment, it felt as though the dolphin truly understood. As Beacon's recovery continued, Keanu used his platform to raise awareness about the plight of marine life. His heartfelt posts and videos brought attention to the dangers of ocean pollution and the devastating impact of discarded fishing gear. Donations poured in to support the facility, and volunteers flocked to help. One post in particular struck a chord with millions. A picture of Keanu sitting by the pool, his hand resting gently on Beacon's side, accompanied by the caption, "Every scar tells a story. This one's about resilience, second chances, and the power of never giving up." Weeks turned into months, and the day finally arrived when Beacon was deemed ready to return to the ocean. The facility's staff worked tirelessly to prepare for the release, ensuring that Beacon was strong enough to navigate the wild waters once more. Keanu stood by as they loaded Beacon into a specialized transport tank. His heart swelled with a mix of pride and anxiety. He had witnessed Beacon's transformation firsthand, from a broken, barnacle-covered figure to a strong, vibrant dolphin ready to reclaim its freedom. The team drove to a secluded cove, chosen for its calm waters and proximity to a thriving dolphin pod. As they prepared for the release, Keanu knelt by the edge of the tank, speaking softly to Beacon. "You've come so far," he said. "Now it's time to go home." The moment was almost sacred. As the tank was gently lowered into the water, Beacon hesitated for a brief moment before swimming out. The sunlight reflected off the waves, casting shimmering patterns across Beacon's sleek body. He swam a few meters, paused, and turned back toward the group. Beacon's dark eyes met Keanu's one last time, and it let out a long, melodic whistle, a sound filled with gratitude and triumph. The team watched in silence, their eyes glistening with tears, and then, with a powerful flick of its tail, Beacon dove beneath the surface, disappearing into the deep blue. In the days following Beacon's release, Keanu shared the final chapter of the dolphin's journey with the world. His story inspired countless people to take action, reducing plastic use, supporting marine conservation, and volunteering for ocean cleanup efforts. Beacon's transformation became a symbol of hope, resilience, and the unbreakable bond between humans and the natural world. For Keanu, it was more than just a rescue. It was a reminder of the impact one act of kindness could have. As he stood on the shoreline, watching the endless expanse of the ocean, Keanu couldn't help but smile. The journey had been long and arduous, but it was worth every moment. Beacon's story wasn't just about survival, it was about second chances. For both the dolphin and the world it called home. The story of Beacon didn't end with its return to the ocean. In fact, it was just the beginning. Keanu's heartfelt documentation of the rescue went viral, reaching millions across the globe. People from all walks of life, students, environmentalists, celebrities, found themselves inspired by the unyielding determination of a single dolphin and the man who refused to give up on it. As donations and offers of support flooded in, Keanu realized that Beacon's story was a call to action. He partnered with the Marine Rescue Center to launch Project Beacon, a global initiative aimed at combating ocean pollution, rescuing marine animals, and advocating for stricter regulations on fishing practices. Keanu himself became the face of the movement, using his influence to amplify its message. "We can't save every dolphin, every turtle, every whale," he said in a moving speech at the launch event. "But we can start somewhere. And if Beacon's journey has taught us anything, it's that no life is too small or too far gone to save." The initiative funded innovative cleanup technologies, supported grassroots efforts to reduce plastic waste, and even sponsored community-led education programs. The world watched as the movement gained momentum, its reach extending far beyond what anyone could have imagined. Back at the Marine Rescue Center, Beacon's absence was deeply felt. The staff often spoke about the dolphin's resilience and the bond it had shared with Keanu. But the greatest impact was on the other animals at the facility. Inspired by Beacon's recovery, the team worked tirelessly to rehabilitate more creatures, each one a testament to the ripple effect of a single act of kindness. Months later, a pod of dolphins was spotted near the cove where Beacon had been released. Marine biologists tracking the pod identified one of the dolphins. It had distinct scars on its dorsal fin, a signature of its extraordinary journey. Beacon had found a new family and was thriving in its natural habitat. The news brought tears to Keanu's eyes when he heard it. He smiled, imagining Beacon swimming freely, surrounded by others of its kind. "You made it," he whispered to himself, standing on the same shore where he had once knelt beside the struggling dolphin. Beacon's story didn't just touch hearts. It sparked change. Communities organized beach cleanups. Companies pledged to reduce plastic packaging. And governments began enacting tougher environmental protections. People everywhere were reminded of the delicate balance between humanity and nature and the responsibility they had to preserve it. Social media was flooded with posts of people sharing their own Beacon moments, where they had stepped up to help an animal, protect a habitat, or simply make the world a little better. The hashtag #BeLikeBeacon became a rallying cry for a global movement. Late one evening, months after Beacon's release, Keanu found himself back on Malibu Beach. The waves crashed softly against the shore, the salty air carrying with it a sense of peace. He thought about everything that had happened, the dolphin's rescue, its recovery, and the extraordinary ripple effect it had created. He knelt by the water's edge, letting the cool waves wash over his hands. "Thank you, Beacon," he murmured. "You reminded me, and all of us, what it means to fight for something bigger than ourselves." Above him, the stars stretched endlessly across the sky, a reminder of how vast and connected the world truly was. Somewhere out there, Beacon was swimming beneath the same stars, its scars no longer a symbol of pain but of survival, resilience, and hope. In the closing moments of his journey with Beacon, Keanu shared one last message with his followers. Beacon's story isn't just about one dolphin. It's about all of us, about the choices we make, the battles we fight, and the hope we carry. We can all be a beacon of light in a dark world. Let's keep fighting for them, for the oceans, for the creatures that call it home, and for each other. The post went viral, but more importantly, it left an indelible mark on everyone who read it. And as the waves of Malibu Beach continued their timeless rhythm, the legacy of a single dolphin carried on, a testament to the power of compassion and the unbreakable bond between humans and the natural world. Months turned into a year, but the story of Beacon's rescue and recovery continued to ripple across the globe. For Keanu, the experience was transformative. It wasn't just about saving one dolphin. It was about the countless lives that could be impacted by Beacon's legacy. Through the success of Project Beacon, Keanu worked with marine biologists, conservationists, and activists to broaden the initiative's reach. The project funded the creation of marine sanctuaries in heavily polluted regions and supported local communities in developing sustainable fishing practices. One of the most groundbreaking achievements came in the form of a partnership with technology firms to create a specialized drone system. These drones patrolled coastal waters, identifying entangled marine life and deploying rescue operations faster than ever before. The technology, nicknamed Beacon Scouts, became a game-changer in the fight against oceanic entanglements. Keanu personally championed the cause, speaking at global summits and visiting communities most affected by marine degradation. "Beacon taught me something profound," he said during one speech. "We're not separate from nature, we're part of it. And when we save them, we're saving ourselves." Nearly a year after its release, marine biologists tracking dolphins in the Pacific shared remarkable footage with Keanu. A pod of dolphins, including Beacon, had been spotted thriving in an area previously devastated by overfishing. The footage showed Beacon leading the group, its distinctive scars now faint reminders of its incredible journey. Keanu watched the video in awe, a smile spreading across his face as Beacon breached the surface alongside its pod. The sight was both humbling and exhilarating, a vivid reminder of why the fight was worth it. On the anniversary of Beacon's rescue, Keanu returned to the same beach in Malibu where it all began. This time, he wasn't alone. Volunteers, conservationists, and supporters of Project Beacon gathered to clean the coastline, celebrate progress, and reflect on the journey. As Keanu stood by the water, lost in thought, something extraordinary happened. In the distance, a dolphin broke through the waves. It moved closer, its sleek body gliding effortlessly through the surf. The crowd fell silent as it approached, its movements deliberate and purposeful. Keanu's breath caught in his throat. It was Beacon. The dolphin lingered near the shore, letting out a series of melodic whistles. Keanu waded into the shallow water, his heart pounding. Beacon swam closer, its dark eyes meeting his. For a moment, it was as if time stood still, a reunion between two beings who had shared an unbreakable bond. "You remember," Keanu whispered, his voice barely audible over the waves. Beacon clicked and whistled, a sound that seemed to carry gratitude, recognition, and joy. The dolphin swam in a playful circle before diving back into the depths. Keanu stood there, watching as Beacon disappeared into the horizon, leaving behind a ripple that seemed to stretch endlessly across the water. That evening, as the sun set over the Pacific, Keanu sat on the sand, gazing at the ocean. He thought about everything Beacon had taught him about resilience, connection, and the profound impact of even the smallest actions. Beacon's journey was more than a story of survival. It was a testament to the power of hope and the possibility of change. And though its scars would fade with time, its legacy would endure, inspiring generations to protect and cherish the natural world. Keanu picked up a smooth pebble from the sand and held it in his hand. With a thoughtful smile, he stood and hurled it into the waves, watching as the ripples spread outward, one after another. "Just like you, Beacon," he said softly. "You'll always leave a ripple." The story of Keanu and Beacon became a global symbol of hope and action, reminding people everywhere that even in the face of overwhelming odds, compassion and determination could make all the difference. And somewhere out in the vast ocean, beneath the shimmering stars, a dolphin named Beacon swam freely, its journey forever etched in the hearts of those it touched. Beacon's journey is more than just a story of survival. It's a powerful reminder of how compassion, resilience, and small acts of kindness can make a world of difference. And now, it's your turn. What would you do if you encountered an animal in need? Just like Beacon? Have you ever been part of a moment that changed the life of another being, human or animal? Share your story in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. And if Beacon's story touched your heart, here's how you can help. Raise awareness. Share this video with your friends, family, and anyone who cares about protecting our planet. Together, we can inspire action. Take action locally. Look for ways to reduce plastic use, participate in beach cleanups, or volunteer at local animal shelters or marine rescue centers. Stay inspired. Subscribe to this channel for more stories like Beacon's, stories that remind us of the beauty of connection and the power of hope. Water wave if you believe every life is worth fighting for. Drop a water wave in the comments and let us know where you're watching from. Don't forget to hit like if this story inspired you, and click subscribe to join our growing community of changemakers. Let's make a difference, one story, one action at a time. Red Heart.